Consciousness, like an iceberg floating in the vast ocean of our mind, only reveals a small fraction of what lies beneath. What we see, what we think we know about ourselves, is merely the tip, while the true force that shapes our destiny lurks in the depths below. This is what Carl Jung discovered, and it would change our understanding of the human psyche forever. Let's dive into the extraordinary story of perhaps the most profound explorer of the human soul that psychology has ever known. By the end of this video, I'll share a powerful insight about the shadow that we all carry, and how understanding it might be the key to unlocking your true potential. You see, Jung wasn't just another psychologist theorizing from the safety of his office. He was a man who dared to venture into the darkest corners of the human psyche, who faced his own demons and emerged with a map for others to follow. His journey into the depths of the unconscious mind would reveal something both terrifying and liberating, a hidden force within us all that he called the shadow. But to truly understand the magnitude of Jung's discoveries, we need to go back to where it all began, to a young boy growing up in 19th century Switzerland, whose early encounters with the mysterious would set him on a path to revolutionize our understanding of what it means to be human. Born in 1875 in Keswil, Switzerland, Carl Gustav Jung's early life was anything but ordinary. His childhood home was steeped in an atmosphere that seemed to blur the lines between reality and the supernatural. His mother, Emilie, was known for her peculiar dual nature. By day, a conventional pastor's wife, but by night, she would speak of spirits and mysterious phenomena, her personality shifting dramatically as if possessed by an otherworldly presence. This eerie duality would leave an indelible mark on young Carl's psyche. His father, Paul Jung, was a rural pastor, a man of faith who struggled with his own religious doubts, a struggle that wouldn't go unnoticed by his perceptive son. The tension between his father's prescribed religious beliefs and inner turmoil created a profound sense of spiritual uncertainty in their household. Jung would later recall how this environment of unspoken doubts and hidden truths shaped his earliest understanding of the human soul. But it wasn't just his parents' complexities that haunted young Carl. From his earliest years, he was plagued by vivid dreams and disturbing visions that seemed to emerge from some mysterious source within. He began keeping a secret journal of these experiences, hiding it in the attic where no one could find it. This private world of inner exploration became his sanctuary, but also his burden. He felt deeply alone in his experiences, unable to share them with anyone who might understand. The isolation intensified when he began attending school. Jung was an intelligent but solitary child, often lost in his own thoughts and fantasies. His classmates found him strange, and he frequently became the target of bullying. But these painful experiences only drove him deeper into his inner world, where he began to notice patterns in his dreams and visions that seemed to hint at deeper truths about human nature. One particular incident would prove pivotal. At age 12, Jung was knocked unconscious during a collision with another student. The accident triggered a series of fainting spells that kept him out of school for several months. During this period of enforced isolation, he discovered that these attacks would come on whenever he was faced with returning to school or doing his homework. This realization, that his body was somehow responding to his mental state, sparked his first insights into the connection between the mind and physical symptoms, a connection that would later form a crucial part of his psychological theories. During his university years at Basel, Jung found himself torn between two worlds, the rational realm of science and medicine and the mysterious domain of the psyche that had fascinated him since childhood. But it was during his residency at the Burg Hölzli mental hospital in Zurich that everything changed. One night, while poring over case files of his patients, he stumbled upon the works of Sigmund Freud. Like Mainlander's encounter with Schopenhauer in that Naples bookstore, this discovery hit Jung like a bolt of lightning. Freud's ideas about the unconscious mind seemed to provide a framework for understanding the very phenomena that had haunted Jung since childhood. He devoured Freud's writings, recognizing in them a scientific approach to the mysterious depths he had always sensed lay beneath conscious awareness. The two would later meet and form a relationship that would transform the landscape of psychology forever. But Jung's revelations didn't stop there. While working with his patients, he began noticing patterns that went beyond Freud's sexual theories. In the delusions of a schizophrenic patient, he would recognize symbols that echoed ancient myths he had studied. In the dreams of a businessman, he would find imagery that paralleled religious visions from cultures the man had never encountered. These observations led him to a stunning realization. There seemed to be a deeper layer of the psyche, one that contained universal patterns and images he would later call archetypes. This was more than just an intellectual breakthrough. It was a validation of everything Jung had experienced in his own life. The visions that had tormented him as a child, the mysterious presence he had sensed in his mother's changing personalities, the patterns he had noticed in his patients' delusions. They all began to fit together into a larger picture. Jung had discovered what he would later call the collective unconscious, a shared psychological inheritance that connected all of humanity. But this discovery came with a price. His growing divergence from Freud's theories would eventually lead to a painful break in their relationship, leaving Jung to venture alone into what he called the confrontation with the unconscious. It was during this period that he would face his own inner darkness and develop his most profound insights about the nature of the human psyche. Jung's magnum opus emerged from what he called his confrontation with the unconscious, a period that began around 1913, during which he deliberately plunged into his own psyche through a process he termed active imagination. This wasn't just theoretical work. It was a deeply personal journey that would produce his groundbreaking work, The Red Book, a manuscript so intimate and profound that it remained unpublished for nearly a century after his death. The core of Jung's revolutionary vision centered on what he called individuation, the process of becoming one's true self by integrating the conscious and unconscious aspects of our personality. At the heart of this process lay his most powerful and controversial concept, the shadow. Unlike any psychological theory before it, Jung proposed that each of us carries within us a hidden dimension of our personality, all the parts of ourselves that we reject, deny, or refuse to see. Until you make the unconscious conscious, he wrote, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. This wasn't just poetic language. It was a practical observation drawn from thousands of hours working with patients. He noticed how people would repeatedly find themselves in the same destructive patterns, attracting the same toxic relationships or facing the same challenges, all while remaining blind to their own role in creating these situations. But Jung's vision went far beyond individual psychology. He saw the shadow not just as a personal phenomenon, but as a collective one. He witnessed how unacknowledged collective shadows could possess entire nations, leading to the horrors he observed during the rise of Nazi Germany. This understanding led him to argue that the greatest danger to humanity wasn't nuclear weapons or environmental disaster, but rather our refusal to confront our own darkness. Yet despite the seemingly dark nature of his theories, Jung's message was ultimately one of hope and transformation. He believed that by consciously facing and integrating our shadow, we could access tremendous sources of creativity and authentic power. The very qualities we reject in ourselves, our anger, our desire, our power, could become sources of vitality and wholeness when properly understood and integrated. His ideas would go on to influence not just psychology, but literature, art, religion, and even modern concepts of personal development. Writers like Hermann Hesse, artists like Jackson Pollock, and countless others would find in Jung's ideas a map for exploring the depths of human experience and creativity. Now, as promised, I want to share my perspective on this profound and transformative story because within Jung's concept of the shadow lies a truth that could change how you see yourself and the world around you. First, consider this fundamental reality. We all have aspects of ourselves that we hide, deny, or run from. Maybe it's anger, maybe it's vulnerability, maybe it's ambition. Whatever it is, we've been taught that these parts of us are somehow wrong or unacceptable. But what if, like Jung discovered, these rejected parts of ourselves hold the very key to our growth and authenticity? Think about it. How much energy do we spend trying to be good, trying to be perfect, trying to be what others want us to be? Jung's work suggests that this very struggle might be what's holding us back from our true potential. Every time we reject a part of ourselves, we don't eliminate it. We just push it into the shadow, where it gains power over us. But there's another crucial insight here. Jung, despite facing his own demons and diving into the darkest corners of the human psyche, didn't lose himself in the darkness. Instead, he emerged with a message of wholeness and integration. He showed us that our flaws and darkness aren't our enemies. They're simply parts of ourselves waiting to be understood and integrated. That's all for this video. I bid you farewell with this invitation. The next time you find yourself judging or rejecting a part of yourself, remember Jung's wisdom. Perhaps what you're running from is exactly what you need to embrace. Until next time, may you find the courage to look into your own shadow, because sometimes our greatest light is hidden in the darkest places.